a short message just saying, hey, you left this in your cart, or hey, here's 10% off to complete the order.
Does SMS convert higher than email?
Those text messages convert amazingly. 21,000 euros gained from that small amount of money.
Today we're joined by Tudeh Bakatahi, co-founder of CartBoss, a service that helps e-commerce businesses recover abandoned carts using text messages. Tudeh brings years of experience in e-commerce development and marketing optimization, particularly in the European market. In this episode, he'll share insights on how SMS cart recovery works, its advantages over email, and best practices for crafting effective recovery messages. Welcome, Tudeh.
Hey guys, great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Today, it's great to have you on. To start, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background in e-commerce?
Well, I started as a web developer, and I saw that companies were doing things in ways that I didn't like it. So I decided to start my own web development company. That thing grew to the point where we had large e-commerce companies, specifically from the dropshipping niche, where we collaborated, tried to optimize their results via websites. And since they worked across a lot of EU countries, I started getting a lot of insights, into how to operate in multilingual networks and marketing where results are key, because a lot of companies think that branding is key, which is, but still the dropshipping business is different. So I got a lot of insights from all over the e-commerce sphere. Additionally, working within the EU helped me a lot to see how different markets react to different products, different ways of communication. So I just got a bunch of knowledge during 10 years that I owned a web development agency. And during that time, I was talking with a few e-commerce companies, and we were focusing on their checkouts. And that kind of was hand in hand with a different project that I started with a friend of mine, which was for recovering abandoned carts. And that's how it actually started. We had companies that were interested in optimizing their abandoned carts or their results, return on ad spend, but mostly focusing on checkouts. So we had an idea to start recovering abandoned carts differently, because previously it was with emails, and you would see that the results weren't really good because emails, they go into the spam folder. Elderly people don't open them. I mean, even normal, like average age people, they don't tend to open their emails all the time. Whereas with text messages, WhatsApp and stuff like that, you can get to them like immediately. And because we saw an opportunity there for our clients that would benefit them, we said let's go into a project of developing an abandoned cart solution that focuses on text messages.
Awesome. So I love an organic story where you see the need from your own experiences. So for those of us that don't know, would you please explain exactly what is SMS cart recovery?
Okay. So let's say we've got John. John comes to your web shop and he decides to buy a basketball. So he looks through all the website, finds the ball that he wants, adds it to the shopping cart, goes to the checkout, enters all the information, including his phone number, but then he gets a phone call and he forgets to complete the order because he's got his mind all over the place. 10 minutes after he abandoned the cart, he receives a text message. Hey, John, you forgot this and this in your shopping cart. Don't forget to complete your order before the stock runs out. That's it. It's a simple SMS notification that he receives that he left something in the cart. And you wouldn't imagine how many people like this exist. It's insane.
Really?
Yeah. Just 70% of all the people that abandon the cart leave all of their information there, which means that they either have a problem with the fees at the end of the checkout because they already know how much the product costs. The problem might be the fees, the checkout, the delivery options, or maybe the payment options. But then when he receives the text message, getting notified that he left something in the cart and that the stock is going to run out, then he starts considering completing the order. And it's a good incentive. Of course, you can offer them 10% off, 20% off. With CartBoss, you can actually prepare whatever. Overall, what I want to say is the first message is usually just notifying the customer, hey, you left something in the cart. And then the second, third, fourth one is usually a discount. But that's what you do. That's the only thing you do. It's a short message just saying, hey, you left this in your cart, or hey, here's 10% off to complete the order. And because the message is so short and straightforward, the conversion rate is, I think that the conversion rate is higher because the message is so short. Because when you see, Facebook retargeting ads, when you see email retargeting, usually there is a lot of content. With text messages, it's such a small amount of text that you can just glance through it and you will understand what's it about. Because of it, the results are so much better. But I don't know if it's time for getting into the results. Maybe if I
got loads of questions already.
Do you have any questions regarding how Cardboss works?
Not yet. I want to dig through the strategy a little bit more. You said 70% of the people actually fill out all the information. And then so it's only 30% that you assume will not put in the phone number, because the phone number is key, right? If they don't put in their phone number, you can't send in the message. So I think that would be like most people's question is,
or a fake phone number. I'm guilty of that.
Are you? I've never done that.
Really?
Okay.
But the fake numbers aren't a problem, because Cardboss checks, if the phone number is fake, if it exists or not. If the phone number is formed in a way that it's not for the country where the message should be sent. Mm-hmm. For example, if it's longer, if it's not structured in a specific way, then the text message just won't be sent out. So you're not going to be losing money there. But yeah, sorry, Nick, go ahead with the question.
Yeah, I'll put in a fake phone number for like a webinar or some sort of registration like that. But if I'm purchasing something, I assume that often the deliverer needs that phone number or something like that. So I usually put in the real phone number. I'd hate for them not to be able to deliver it. They're calling somebody else's number. But okay, so 70% of the people put in the full information, and then they bounce for some reason. And then that's when the first message goes out. So first, you touched on this a little bit initially, but why is this a better strategy than email? What are the issues that we see with email? You mentioned a lot of people just don't check it. But let's say the people who do check it, does it convert? If you look at just the open rates of those emails, does SMS convert higher than email?
So many questions. It's so difficult to answer. But in essence, it's best to use both, because you're not losing anything. You're just trying to convert the person. If he does an order twice, then the system usually detects. For example, if you abandon the cart and you receive a text message and then you receive an email, one of those two links won't work. Because if you recovered an abandoned cart, there is nothing to recover anymore. So you're not losing anything. You're just getting better statistical results if you use both of the technologies. Using emails for recovering abandoned carts, they tend to go into the spam or the promotional folder. Your promotional folder is full of emails. I mean, at least mine is. I think that yours is as well. So it's difficult to see that email. And additionally, you're going to check the emails maybe once or twice per day if you're really lucky. But if you send out a text message, it's immediate. You can see it right in your hand. And because you check your phone, I think there was a survey done that you check your phone, I think roughly around 180 times per day or something like that.
Wow.
Guilty.
So yeah, exactly. But you're really going to see that notification, so you're not going to miss that part out. But an additional benefit is that a lot of e-commerce companies aren't using SMS as a gateway. I mean, as a communication channel. Which means that you're one of a kind there, like there is a specific amount of time currently where a lot of e-commerce companies still don't use text messages, and the ones that do really reap the benefits of using them because it's not a saturated place. Whilst with emails, there are a ton of emails right there.
Right.
But then there is one really important part of it. Elderly people that aren't tech savvy, that never check their emails, all of those people know how to use text messages. So that's a huge benefit right there. And if you receive a text message compared to email, WhatsApp, Viber, whatever it is, it's considered, the OG channel. People really trust that communication channel. Of course, there's more and more scams coming up. But if you structure the text message appropriately, according with your brand guidelines, you don't come out spammy. people really trust you. And a lot of people actually think that they're communicating with another person, which means that it's a lot more personal. So many more benefits to using text messages compared to emails. So yeah, those are the main reasons why text messages bring around 2,500% return of investment.
I'd love to get more granular on the actual strategy part as well, in terms of, I imagine the conversion for the customer having received that text message, you want to get them to re-engage with that cart and make that transaction as fast as humanly possible. So what information is included within that text message? What information is saved that they've already put in and then is easily accessible once they click on a link within that text message? How are you able to get them from a text message on their mobile device all the way through to purchase completion as fast as humanly possible? And another small part to the question is there an advantage to doing that via text over email in terms of the speed of that conversion for the transaction?
Okay, so yes, there is definitely a benefit using a phone compared to an email, because usually, with a text message, you just click on the link and you immediately get on a website. You do exactly the same with an email. But with an email, there's just one more additional step, like opening the app and finding the email and going through it. With text messages, it's always there and you just click on it. When you click on the link that you receive, like when John gets an email, a text message, hey, John, you forgot this in your shopping cart. And then there is a link. He just clicks on the link, gets to the shopping cart, and all of the information that he already entered or chose, the delivery method or the payment method, it's already there. Cardboss does everything for him. Even if he gets a discount, like minus 10%, the discount, the coupon code, it's already inside his shopping cart. So there's full range of automations there. He doesn't need to do anything. Yeah. So that's the biggest benefit. Okay, now what was the question?
I think you covered it. Yeah, I just wanted to know if that was advantageous over email then in terms of speed. So both processes take you to an auto saved cart information. So whatever was previously put in is saved, but you're just reducing that step of email into the email to click the link. Text is just open the text and you're straight there. I'm just wondering if there would be any convergence, divergence between device. So if I was going to make a purchase on my laptop, for example, and then I abandoned and then I got a text message, I actually would feel a bit uncomfortable with completing that purchase on mobile. I'd prefer to come back to my laptop. I don't know if that's something you've got data on or if that doesn't really make a difference.
We actually don't have any data on that. We didn't actually ever check. Most of the purchases done are usually on mobile phones. So a lot of times they're just mobile phone to mobile phone, which is also one of the reasons why around 70% of people enter all of their information. When they get to the checkout page, you go from top to bottom on a mobile phone. You don't go from left to right. You don't see that part. So you don't see the final price. With the mobile phone, you see the mobile price, the final price at the end, which is one of the reasons we believe is also such a high number that they enter all the information and then decide. But you asked one more thing, I think, regarding the information within the text message. So with Cardboss, you can have a lot of information dynamic. So name, surname, items in the cart, order number, order value, stuff like that. What we've seen is that the best information to show is his personal name, the personal name of the recipient, and the name of the product. That's the best way to go about it. Of course, there are exceptions. Some people add shipping, order numbers and stuff like that, but that's really specific, and that depends on the niche of what you're selling.
How quickly does the first message go out once they've abandoned the cart, I guess?
After 10 minutes. That's the best practice, as soon as possible, because a lot of people actually abandon the cart just due to random things around you.
Okay, so the 10 minutes, they get the first message. And then what happens after that? If they don't complete the order, how many messages do you suggest sending? And what do the follow-up ones say that so you're not just saying the same thing over and over again?
So the best thing to do is to send the first text message just as a normal reminder, a gentle reminder. You left this in your cart. The second one is usually a discount and you send that text message after 2 to 3 hours. That's the best practice that we tell to everyone that uses our solution. But what you can do in specific countries, you would see that, for example, when you send out the second text message offering 10% discount, you would usually see a drop in the return of investment for the text message compared to the first one. That's normal. That's okay. But for example, in Italy, you would see more than a 50% drop off in return on investment. And when we saw that trend with several clients using our solution, we suggested to them, hey, start using perhaps a message offering the people in Italy free delivery. And they started doing just that. And the results started growing. So you can actually see with your text messages for coloring abandoned carts, what's the problem with a specific store in a specific country. And you can see the difference, how some countries tend to lean towards a discount and others tend to lean towards free delivery. So you can test those things out actually, optimize your results with CardBoss, and then optimize your results on the web shop, on the checkout page as well. Why you don't need to send out abandoned cart text messages. I mean, you don't want to send out, abandoned cart text messages. You want to have completed orders. So you want to optimize your checkout page with the information you get from CardBoss.
Okay, that makes sense. So yeah, that's a good way to test and see why people are dropping off. So we've got the first message that goes out 10 minutes after, then 3 hours later, we send out the second message. Still nothing. How many more messages do you send out?
On average, our customers use 1 to 2 text messages for recovering abandoned carts. The third one is, if you have really good results with the second one as well, try the third one. We've got exceptions with some clients that send out, I think the most extreme person was 15 text messages.
50?
Wow.
Or 15.
But still, that's
a lot. Yeah,
that is
I would mark that as spam, I think.
Exactly. But his results really weren't that good. Like his first text message, he had just a return of investment of around 900. But another client, he's got, I think, around 5 text messages activated. The first one after 10 minutes, the second one after 3 hours, the third one, the next day, and so on. And all of his messages have a return on investment above 1,500%. So it just makes sense for some e-commerce businesses to send out 5 messages, maybe even 7. But that's a rarity. That's not a typical way to go about it. Typically, 1 to 3 text messages is more than enough. If he doesn't convert after that, just stop.
And then how are you seen as a best practice to utilize that customer information? So it sounds like SMS works as a very short-term nudge to make that cart completion, 3 hours the next day maybe. Are we doing any sorts of follow-ups a month later? Are we adding to email lists? How are we utilizing that customer data?
If you're a dropshipper, you don't need anything because you just do the 10 minutes and 3 hours and you're done. If you're a brand, what you usually do is you can, besides abandoned cart text messages, CardBoss offers also win-back text messages. Those are text messages that you send out after 2 or 3 weeks after the person bought something. A good example would be, for example, dog food or fitness food. I think it's called food, protein powders and shit like that. Anyways, that you send out a text message after 3 weeks saying, hey, thanks for being a loyal customer. Here's 10% off for your next order. Those text messages convert amazingly because, you just need to know, how long your product is usually used before it runs out. For example, dog food stays for around a month, maybe 3 weeks, something like that. And you can just set up a recurring text message that every time he buys, after 1 month, he gets a text message saying, hey, here's 10% off. And then you can set up another text message that after half a year, he receives another text message, just to keep the communication going, the brand awareness and stuff like that. So you've got a lot of options there. But the best one is the post-purchase text message is best after 1 month, just to get them back with a discount code. And then you'll see, how many discount codes are actually used. And if you see a lot of discount codes used, then that's a good strategy for your company.
Yeah, that's interesting because that's things that people are used to seeing in email. But again, as email gets really crowded, you want to be where all the other companies are doing something a little different. So I can see why that would have maybe a higher success rate than sending out those same promo codes through email.
Yeah. It's really so personal, and we did a lot of I don't know what it's called, user experiences. I mean, we talked with the people who randomly received a text message that used our solution. They shopped on websites that used our solution, and we talked to those specific people. And it was insane how you saw that a few people were just genuinely happy that they received a text message, like, hey, look, this company sent me this free offer for a specific discount. And it was insane when you notice that they're using our solution and those people think that they're talking to a real person and that they were specifically chosen to receive the text message. And that's one thing that would be important to note here. A lot of e-commerce companies don't use text messages because they're scared that they're going to be bothering the recipients, that they're going to be bothering their, customers. That's not the case. If you check the unsubscribe rate, it's under 1%.
I've got a question to that, a couple of questions which would lead me to that. So firstly, in terms of cost. So for any of our listeners listening that are running successful e-com stores, let's say they already have an abandoned cart strategy in place, which is wholly reliant on email, and they are getting conversions from that strategy. There would need to be for them a good reason to make that investment into SMS, which obviously you are suggesting that there is a much higher ROI on that. How expensive is it to engage customers with SMS, and what are you looking at in terms of monthly costs, and does that vary when we go outside of your if you're an international e-com store, when you're operating internationally? And then my final question, if you can remember this, I'll come back to after. I'm on a couple of these SMS things from companies that I've purchased things from. And one in particular, I keep getting messages every 3 months or so, useful information and such, but I don't want these messages anymore. And it seems like I have to pay in order to stop receiving these messages. I have to reply a STOP, stop, which costs me a £1.30 SMS text message cost. Can you speak to that as well?
What kind of phone plan are you on?
But by law, you need to have an option to unsubscribe from receiving text messages. That's one of the ways to offer it, just send back the soft text message and you're done. But that's not useful for elderly people. So we just have a link at the end. If you don't want to receive text messages, you just click on the link, you're done.
That's good.
And that's by law, you have to have one of those two options. We decided to engage with this one because it's so much easier for the recipients.
It looks like that gym I joined a year ago then that keeps messaging me is breaking the law.
Yeah. I mean, it's a slippery slope.
Yeah.
Regarding the costs with CartBoss, so maybe an important factor would be to not think about the cost, but the results. But you're probably thinking about the pricing. So pricing is based on per country based, because there is mobile operators in each country and each country has its own pricing. So we're not like a one-stop shop. We need to have pricing for each country. But as the end user of CartBoss, you don't need to think about that. You just buy credits and that's it. There's like countries that have an SMS with pricing of 15 cents of euro per text message. There's countries with 7, there's cents per text message and stuff like that. So the prices vary. The average price is around 10 cents per text message, I think. So it's not a lot. When you consider that the return of investment on average is 2,400%. Our lowest user, I think, has around 800% return of investment. And one of our top users has somewhere around 9,000% return of investment. So you really need to focus on the return, the ROI, the return on investment. That's the end goal that you need to focus on here, because when you see that a client spent, roughly around $500 in a week for just using text messages, that's a lot, at least to me. But then you see his results, like 21,000 euros gained from that small amount of money.
Yeah.
Just drop down.
Speaking honestly then, could you speak to your experience for any specific industries where this isn't a strategy that works, where you've seen zero ROI? I mean, they're just, the customers within that particular industry or whatever are just not receptive to this sort of abandoned cart strategy.
I mean, I honestly thought that the dropshipping business wouldn't be so good, but for example, the dropshipping companies on average have a return on investment of 1,800%, which is great. Yeah, but the only companies that don't use our solution are companies that sell adult things, adult toys. They just didn't even try, so
you don't want to be receiving a text message to remind you to buy your or whatever.
That's a privacy-based purchase, I think, yeah.
Exactly. But that's the only business, that I saw that didn't even test out card walls. There is this one shop that uses our solution, and I really hope that they're not listening. They're selling sneakers for 2,000 euros and stuff like that. Like, what the hell is that, but they have a positive return on investment.
Well,
so, I mean, they have a really, really good return on investment because when, those are the results that we don't advertise because it's useless. If I remember correctly, they maybe spent $50 for sending out text messages, sold a sneaker for 20K or 10K or whatever it was. The result is going to be like 10,000.
Yeah, you don't need many sales at that price to get a good ROI.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, I'm going to stick with my $100 shoes. I feel like I spent $100 on shoes and I'm still mad when I get them dirty. So I'm not going for that. Okay, so I'm curious if there's anything that you should avoid saying. Any areas to avoid, any things you should not say in your messages. You mentioned not sending out 15. I feel like that's pretty obvious. Are there other things you should avoid when you're setting up your message sequence?
I mean, honestly not. Why I'm saying that is we have one client that uses, the company is quite big. They're a well-known brand here locally. And the company owner, she writes so bad. Her writing is so bad. It's horrible. And she insists that she prepares the text messages. And this one time I read the text message and it just didn't make even sense. It was just, what the fuck is that? And I told her, look, this isn't even well structured. People aren't going to know what you're talking about because I don't understand what you're trying to say. And she insisted on sending those text messages and she got a result. I mean, she used that abandoned cart text message for a while because they were doing this campaign, and the text message per se had 7,500% of return on investment. Even though it wasn't structured good, it didn't make any sense at all. What I want to say is don't overthink it. It's a sentence that's 10 words long. Just stick to your brand, and if you're not a brand, just use one of our pre-prepared text messages. And you're done. So
yeah, I imagine that's going to be, as soon as you start thinking to write essays, it's lost the point, hasn't it? It's short and sweet. And we've all experienced this as well, where you've gone to make a purchase and for whatever reason, you've had to duck out at the last minute and you do want to buy that. Or even it's one of those things that you have been 50-50 about, and that that little nudge is the thing where you go on then, I'm gonna treat myself or I'm gonna get it. So can definitely see it being not to overthink it, but just implement it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I saw large brands using our solution and using our default text messages, and till this day they still use our default text messages. So, and they were a lot of companies at the beginning were complicating. Hey, we want to have our own custom text messages. We need to customize them completely. Of course, you can do it now. We offer them this, but they didn't change it. They still had initial results. So, yeah.
Okay. Today, I think this is the perfect spot to wrap up. It's been really great having you on. I think we've got everyone excited about the strategy. To end things, where can we send people who want to learn more about you?
You can get me on LinkedIn. You can write me an email to info@cardboss.io. That's the one that I always check. And if listeners here want to try out Card Boss, just send me a DM, say that you listened to us here, and we're going to give you like 300 free text messages. Which
Can they text you?
actually,
We'll text you.
No. Because by default, my phone does not go into the do not disturb mode. Card Boss does. So
Okay, well, that's awesome to offer our audience that. I'm sure some people will take you up on it. Yeah, today's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you for sharing such a wealth of information, and it's been great.
Chris, Nick, really, thank you for having me. It was really nice.